welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we are diving right back into our Fix series by You-Laurelin Paige. We've already done Fixed on You, which was our first installment in the series, and then Found in You, which was our second book in the installment series. For those links, for those book reviews, they're going to be listed below in the description area. So get caught up on those, and then we are going to dive right into Forever with You. And so this book starts off with Elena going to see Stacy at her apartment to watch the video that Stacy claims that she has of Hudson. And so the video kind of looks blurry, but she can hear the words, "I want you, precious, whatever it takes to make it that happen. Whatever I have to do, whatever I have to say, I have to have you in my life." And it was clearly Hudson's voice, but it wasn't a scene that she knew, like she couldn't make out like the background. And so she knew it was Hudson because, of course, these are the things he calls her precious, and he says those types of things to her. And so then she can see in the video that he's naked on the side of a bed, but he couldn't see who she was talking to, who he was talking to. And then we find out it was a dream because she woke up. I was so mad. I was like, oh, I thought it was real. So basically, we remember in the last book, she had gotten that text message from Stacy about how she had a video. So clearly, being that Elena is obsessive, Elena, if you keep thinking about something, it will find its way in your dreams. And that's pretty much what has happened. So Hudson, of course, hears her like jerk, kind of wake up suddenly. And he's asking her what's wrong because she's, kind of tossing and turning. And that's when she asks him about Stacy. And like, would she ever have anything on you? And he's kind of like, well, why are you asking me that? And he says, I've already told you the worst stuff from my past. He's like, that wasn't one of them. So then she goes ahead and starts to tell him about the text message that she got from Stacy about a video. Because she's like, we said we were going to do complete honesty if this was going to work. And she's like, so I'm being honest with you about, this is a message I got from her. And so he asked her, he's like, well, honestly, I don't know what it could be. I don't think she could have anything incriminating on me, but I don't think there's anything. And so then he asked her, well, do you want to see it? And she says, well, yeah, I kind of do. And he's like, well, if you want to see it, it's like you don't trust me. Now that to me, I'm like, you're manipulating. Because clearly you all have trust issues. So, yes, this is an issue for her. Yes, this girl obsesses over every single little detail, except for the ones that mattered a lot of times. And it's like, you saying that to her just makes to me, it's like, okay, what are you hiding? Because now there's got to be something more to this, because that was a manipulation tactic right there. So after she makes that, yeah, I kind of do want to see it. They kind of, it wasn't a big deal. Like, of course they go right into their whole kissing, and they have a great scene and everything like that. And right when he's like inside her and he calls her precious, and she starts crying, and he's like, oh my God, like, what's wrong? And she's like, she's still upset that he didn't believe her. And he's like, he apologized, profusely to her. Like, he's like, I'm so sorry. I hope, can you ever forgive me? And she's like, I've already forgiven you. She's like, but I guess I just needed to let those feelings out before they move forward. And I was just kind of like, okay, that was kind of dramatic. Like, I don't know. I just felt like that was kind of dramatic. But, they both manipulate. So, hey. So the next day, She goes to a boat party that's being thrown by Hudson Industries, and Hudson hears from the security that there's an unwanted guest. And so then a few minutes later, she sees Mira and Jack. Well, actually, she sees Mira, so of course she goes up to Mira and they talk. And then Jack walks up, and so Elena, she automatically assumed like, oh, Jack must be the unwanted guest that Hudson had got that call about. And so while Hudson, he walks up, he's pissed because he doesn't like his dad. So, Hudson was mad to see him, but Elena was happy to see him, and she told him that. She was like, you know what? I just want to thank you so much for standing up for me. And of course, that hits Hudson and stings him, And I think maybe a part of that, she did want to kind of hit him there, but I think it was also genuine. She was very thankful that, he believed her, because unfortunately the person she was in love with didn't. So I think it was genuine on her part, but she was trying to stick it a little bit to Hudson. But so they walk away, and of course when they get alone, like he starts like fingering Elena and stuff like that. She comes on his hand, and when she looks up, she sees Celia. So Celia is the one that was the unwanted guest. So she tells Hudson, like, Celia's here, and he's like, yeah, I know. And that kind of upsets her because it's like, why you didn't tell me, But I guess maybe he felt like, he doesn't want to ruin the night. At the same time, he's got security at the yin yang there. She's safe. So I guess he kind of felt like, there was no need to upset her. So on the way back home, she lets Hudson know, she's decided she is going to run the Sky Launch, but she is going to need like another full-time manager. And so Hudson's going to kind of, go through his contacts to kind of see if he can find someone for her. And so she also has, the next day when she goes to work, she has a convo with David about him leaving. And he just furthermore cements that he loves her. And if she asked him to stay, he would. And then she realizes, like, yeah, him being here would definitely not be a good idea. And, of course, he tells her, to remember him if it doesn't work out with Pierce. But the truth of the matter is she could never go back to David after being with Hudson. Like, that's a wrap. So the next day, she keeps seeing Celia. So Celia's clearly stalking old girl. And after she's seen her a couple times that day, she had Jordan take her to Hudson's office. And so she barges in, and Hudson's in the office with Norma and another woman. And so he was interviewing someone for her to be like the operations manager for the Sky Launch. And so because she's always tripping with her jealous, ways, she sees a woman. When she saw the other woman, she kind of relaxed like a titty bit because Norma wasn't in there alone with Hudson, because that would have just set her off. So he was just kind of like, oh, good, you're here. He's like, and he introduced the women and everything. And so she set up an interview to meet with the other woman there, who is Gwen. And that is actually Norma's sister. And so she'll meet with her and do an interview at the actual club. So then when they leave, she tells him about Celia. And of course, he's like, I'll get a restraining order against her. And she's like, already emotional because she's, happy that he believes her and now and everything like that. But then she kind of starts looking at, dang, I used to do this to people, like that feeling of that helplessness, that not knowing what a person's mindset really is. Like, you don't know if she wants to kill you, if she just wants to maim you. Like, you don't know exactly what she wants to do. And she realizes kind of how awful it was of what she used to do to other people. And I'm like, good, you need to feel that, because I think sometimes that helps, maybe not every time, but I think knowing that you inflicted that feeling, you realize you don't like that feeling. That's an awful feeling. And realizing I don't ever want to inflict that on someone again. Like, oh gosh, that was awful for me to ever do that to people. So they come to an agreement about, because she likes to go on runs. And he's like, well, that's got to stop, until we get this situation under control. And so she agrees not to take her daily runs outside. She'll just stick to the treadmill for now. And he also lets her know, like, listen, you're in the best care. Like, Jordan is former military, so you're safe, And she's like, okay, well, cool. So of course they get all worked up, and then he has to screw her right then and there in the office. Hot scene. So later that evening, she picked up one of the books, Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence, and there was a white business card sticking out of it. And there was a quote highlighted on that paper that said, she was always waiting. It seemed to be her forte. And so then Hudson appears and can see she's upset, and she shows him the card, and he gets pissed. But he dismisses it and kind of like, because it's not like he's drained. Like, this has been like a Celia day already, and he's like, he just don't want to do. He's like, let's just have dinner. Where's dinner? Can we just have dinner? And so she wants to know, like, okay, well, what do you have planned for Celia? Because she can tell he's got something brewing, but she doesn't know all the details. And so she wants to know. And he basically lets her know, I can't tell you right now. And she's like, I thought we weren't keeping secrets. And he's like, right now, this is for your own good. And then she tells him about the next day she's going to have lunch, because Mira had asked her at the boat party if she would kind of be a buffer because Jack wanted to have lunch with Mira, and she's like, can you come and kind of be a buffer? And she was like, sure. So Hudson was upset because he's like, absolutely not. What do you need to be around him for? And she's like, you got to understand, I'm not Celia. I'm not going to screw Jack. Like, I don't even think of him like that. So you just kind of need to get over it. And so finally he caves. And so she's going to go. So the next day they go to lunch. And basically we find out a little bit more about Hudson and Sophia. So when, and Jack as well, that whole dynamic. So when Jack and Sophia first got married, she was the one with the money, and he helped build the business to like kind of take it to another level. And then now we have Hudson taking it to an even bigger level. So of course, when you're doing something like that, it takes a lot of time. And so he wasn't home a lot. And so their relationship, it did suffer. And so she was accusing him of cheating before he even started cheating. But what she noticed was that when he was around, he gave so much attention to Hudson. And then she began to use Hudson as a pawn. And I was like, now that's just fucked up, So this is kind of what's kind of wrong. He's basically been involved in games since he was a kid. So kind of makes sense of how he could kind of go down that route of like, manipulating people's emotions, because like that's what he knows. This is coming from people that love him, and these games are being played. So it gives us a little bit more into his psyche of why he is the way he is. So Mira goes to the restroom, and while they're talking, Elena and Jack, old Sophia pops up. And of course she's drunk. And she's like, what are you doing here with this bitch? And so Mira's coming from the bathroom, and Sophia's like, Look at what your dad's doing. He's trying to get your Hudson's new whore. I mean, just